Hi, I'm Britton Simons, and you've probably heard me talk about the science of medicinal remedies. And one reason I really focused on that was because there's so much evidence that plants heal. Pretty simple, right? Science has known this for a long time. Major corporations study plants in the Amazon rainforest in different areas across the globe to find these little components, pharmacological activities that can be plucked and used in different big pharma drugs. One that I love is soursop tea, which is known scientifically as Annona muricata. And some of those components are acetogenins, alkaloids, flavonoids, vitamins, minerals, so many things that affect our bodies. That interaction is a biochemical interaction. It's real, it works, but there's a higher level of healing that I really wanted to talk about. And I've been restraining myself because I don't know if the world is ready for it. It's the process of exploration and understanding. Energetic healing is very different than pharmacological healing, than healing from plants or finding out those components of plants that heal our bodies. Both are effective because really this is a talk on the energetic, the higher realms, the beautiful, wonderful, lost wisdom, and how we can truly heal ourselves in a way that is more integrated, holistic, more related to our emotions, our interpretation of reality, our lessons as a human being, and our health. So I'm going to keep structuring this more like a conversation because I think that that's really the best way to get this information out there. I read this book years ago called Instant Healing by Sergey Kahali King. I'm probably butchering that name, but you really have to search up Instant Healing book by King because for some reason you can't find it on Google otherwise. I know why. We know why. But in the book, I remember the author describing the story of how every cell in your body has memory. And when you injure yourself, let's say you broke your finger or you tore a tendon or something like that, you're creating a new memory wrapped around the events that took place. So the injury, the pain that happened, the moments leading up, it creates an imprint, a memory in your actual physical tissue. It's not just in your brain, it's in the cells of your tissue. And if you think, okay, from a science perspective, how is that possible? Well, information is stored in DNA. I'm using this more as a reference because when you're talking about an energy body, there's actually an energetic overlay mirrored in your DNA, mirrored in your tissue. We imprint memory into our tissue. And he describes going on this hike. I think it was in Hawaii. Again, if I get some of this wrong, go read the book. It's a wonderful book. The day was winding down and he was going on this hike and he started to go across this little river, this little stream. And obviously when you cross a stream, anyone knows you got to be careful. It's slippery and things happen to anybody. And he was crossing, he slipped on a rock and he tried to catch his fall. And when he did that, he jammed his finger into the rock and it broke. It just snapped, bent off to the side. It was broken. And he had remembered, because he had went all across the world studying different healing, this technique in energy healing. It's a rewriting of the memory. Injury is just coded information into your tissue. So when you think of it like that, instead of damaged tissue, think of it as new information being overlaid onto our physical bodies in an energetic way. And so what he did, the technique he used was re-imprinting the memory into his body. So he stayed there for a minute, finger starting to swell. He repeated the action over and over and over. And he kept doing it over and over and over. And every time he did it, he didn't actually hurt himself. He caught himself correctly. He was replacing the memory of the injury. And he kept doing it until it just became more ingrained and more ingrained and more ingrained. Really, there's no foundation of knowledge in modern society for this to exist or be a thing. And like a normal person would think he's crazy. He's just lying to himself. But he kept repeating it, kept repeating it, kept repeating it, re-imprinting the memory, re-imprinting the memory, re-imprinting the memory. And he got to a point where he really believed, corrected the belief. And this is why belief is so strong. When we talk about the placebo effect in science and medicine, it's so powerful that doctors have to account for it in studies, meaning mind over matter, the energetic body, the influence of memory and of interpreting your reality. You can make yourself sick, you can make yourself heal. Anyways, kept doing it. And he got to a point where he looked at his hand, the finger was straight, and the swelling was down. He thought, okay, started flexing his hand, and he looked at it and it was good. He had healed his hand. I mean, what we think of as healing. really, the way he healed, the modality, the way he went about it, was by replacing the memory in the actual tissue. So he's like, okay, cool, well, it worked, And he got really excited. He's like, okay, I put this thing that I've learned from traveling the world and learning about wisdom of cultures and of healing and shamans and all these things, and I put it to use. I did it for myself. And so he ran home, and the moment he got in the door, he was just so excited by the fact that it worked. He started to recount to his family, hey, I just did this thing. It's amazing. I healed my finger. My finger was broken. It was off to the side. It was completely busted. Any other scenario, you'd have to go to a doctor, get a splint, tie it to your other finger, allow 2 to 4 weeks of healing. But no, he's like, look, it's fine. I healed it. What was interesting is as he was telling the story to all his family of the broken finger that he healed, he was reintroducing and re-imprinting the memory of the injury. And so he started to see swelling again. And he started to see the finger starting to readjust to the memory of the damage. And so he's like, oh shoot, what am I doing? I did all this work to change the fabric of this reality, of this memory imprinted in my body, in my DNA, in my physical structure, in tissue. Because we don't really think of DNA as memory storage. We think of it as a bedrock roadmap, unchanging. If there's damage, it's not stored. Information is a part of every tissue. But anyway, so he rushed into his bedroom and he started to redo. He just kept redoing it. He's like, okay, got to re-imprint the memory. And so he did. And he got to a point, okay, great, looked at his finger, it was back to normal, was successful. And he had to release the memory of the damage. And the reason why I say this story is because this is real. This is a personal account that happened in his book. And there's a lot of components I want to break down about this. You might have heard the saying, if you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you can't. You're right either way. There's a certain flexibility to this energetic reality that we're living in. A lot of it is determined by the collective consciousness. We have rules to our reality. That's what science is based on. Science is discovering the rules of our reality. But those rules change, and they change because of an elevation in frequency. So when you hear someone raising their vibration or raising their frequency, it sounds kind of like mumbo jumbo, but what they're doing, or a way to think of it, is they're allowing a higher vibration of energetic expression in their bodies, in their actions, in their words, in their approach to life. And the higher you go in that vibratory state, the more excited it is, the more energetic it is. You're really going higher into a love frequency. And I know it sounds general, but really it's a love energy. You're connecting, you're integrating different densities and realities of information into your physical, biochemical body process. It aligns and it snaps in according to what you believe is possible. So if you don't believe this is possible, if you believe this is all nonsense, that's fine. As a spark of existence, as a being of energy and light, as an expression of creator, that's fine. You can do that. You can live in that reality. But it's my job to tell you that, hey, these adjacent realities blossoming into existence, because we're at the mental capacity, at the point of development in our society where more information is being allowed to be assimilated into the human experience. This is part of it. Energetic healing, energetic memory. Another aspect to this, what a lot of people would describe as white light energy, source creator energy. It really does not care what you call it. It just is. It's a creator energy. It's the creator energy. One perspective I love, because I'm science oriented, if I'm going to use and integrate something in my life, I want to know it's real. And one thing we know something is real is through the scientific process. Asking a question about the nature of reality, and then starting to investigate, constructing a hypothesis of how these components work together, creating the experiment with limited parameters, and eliminating anything that could be affecting it and changing the results to skew the results. It's really this process of discovery and testing and finding results that are reproducible, that if you do the same thing, you get the same result. And this is something that has happened and happening in a spiritual, energetic, energy body sense for the last 50 years. It's been happening in two ways. One, which is the less scientific way, is channeling of higher beings, channeling of higher knowledge, the higher self, the collective consciousness, angelic beings. But one really cool, because a lot of the information is similar, is hypnosis, hypnotic regression. The pioneer, the woman that showed the depth of possibility into finding the answers of the universe is Dolores Cannon, an incredible, loving human being. You have to give her full credit. But what she discovered is that if she put someone into a deep state of trance and did a regression, typical hypnosis, you take someone back to their childhood or someone back to a traumatic event in their life, and you go over that event in a way that helps with the trauma and helps with processing of the trauma. And so that's kind of what she started out doing, taking people back in their life, helping them process whatever event was affecting them now. And she discovered something was going on. She took one of her clients in a deep state of hypnosis back in time to explore events of their life that were having an impact on them now. And if you can help them understand why, how to process, or how it's affecting them, they can often release it, a process of forgiveness. But what she found is that she started taking people back, and they were describing lifetimes that didn't align with anything that would have happened in the last 100 years. They wouldn't have been alive to experience those things. Someone going back to the mobster times or in early America, or going back further to Salem witch hunts or whatever it is. She's taking people back to other lifetimes. Okay, well, that's reincarnation. Well, that could be triggering. Reincarnation is often tied to religious belief. Hinduism is very renowned for this. And for Christians, this can be triggering because you live once, you die, you go to heaven or hell, But even Jesus died and rose again. Technically, was resurrected. But anyways, what she also found was that not only was she going into past lives, there would be moments where she would try to understand why this event was important. What lesson was it tied to? What were they meant to learn? Why, on a spiritual level, were they put through these difficult times to grow as a soul? And she found that in certain scenarios, a voice would come through. A very calm, loving, high-energy voice would come through as their higher self. Accumulation of memory, highest intuition, the collective consciousness, or the source. And she would ask questions, and she would get answers according to these people's lives that were very direct and clear and instructional on what they can do in their lives, the direction, the purpose of their lives. Because a lot of people want to know about their purpose. So she did that for a while and helped individual people progress on their own life path, learn about their purpose, learn about why things were happening in their life, why they kept hitting roadblocks, or why they kept meeting the same types of people, or what in their human development was stunted, blocked, or based in trauma that they could heal and move forward. And then she got to a point where she was like, okay, well, I have this knowing subconscious coming through, giving beautiful, elegant, actionable information. And then she thought, well, I have all these questions. I'm curious about the universe, about how things work. Why don't I start asking those questions? So she did. And the responses she was getting were mind-blowing. Parallel realities, other worlds, aliens. We live in an expansive, active universe. But one of the coolest things, she was finding out what happens after we die. What is on these other energetic planes of existence? Where do people come from? If we're living past lives, could we be having past lives elsewhere as other forms? Do we progress? Why does that progression happen? And no matter who she talked to or who was the vehicle for this information, who offered themselves to receive healing, QHHT healing, she would ask, can I also ask these questions? Give permission, yes. She was getting the same answers. Same answers, same answers, same answers. And sometimes not only the same answers, she would have a session with one person that's completely disconnected from another person, and she would ask questions that build on the last session and kept elaborating and expanding the ideas of understanding. And so what that told her is that she was communicating with the collective consciousness, with the source consciousness, with the source consciousness. A loving, warm, beautiful energy. And a lot of healing practitioners call it the white light. People call it universe or the universal energy or call it God. And again, doesn't care what you call it. But we know because of the scientific method, because there's a process that's reproducible that gets the same results, process, reproducible, gets the same results, that it's real. In a personal sense, for you, for me, the way we can utilize this is we can tap into this energy, this abundant, loving, knowing energy. We already do. It's called your intuition, your inner voice. There's a way we can utilize it even more. This is an intelligence beyond any of us. You don't have to take it like a hammer and use it like a tool. It knows what you need before you ask. It is aware of every aspect of yourself, your higher self, your intentions, your soul contracts. That's something else we can get into, and all these pieces of you. But it can't interfere. The earth is a school for learning. Some people call it karma. The Christian perspective is sin and grace, forgiveness. Regardless, it's a system of learning. It's a system of bettering yourself and becoming a more loving, generous, human-to-human connected, abundant, happy, fulfilled person. But it requires that you face challenges, to overcome things, that a school requires you to have information on the chalkboard that you don't know how to deal with yet, and you got to figure out how to deal with it. It's a process. In that process may come injury, harm, setbacks, and loss, pain. And again, those are not necessarily, people say, well, if it's a loving universe, why do those things exist? They exist because of free will. They exist because we have to have exploration and we have to have consequence. And for educational purposes only, I couldn't help but add this little excerpt from Dolores Cannon, Finding Your True Self, the Ozark Research Institute.
But they have told me many times through my clients, you find your passion. You find what you're really supposed to do, what you're here for. You don't get sick and you don't age because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. There's only lessons and experiences. And you choose these every time you come into a life. We all have bad things happen in our lives. That's life. But what did you learn from it? Remember, you created it to learn something from. Maybe more difficult than it should have been, but you created it to learn something. And I have clients that I ask that to, and they'll say, I didn't learn anything. It was just a horrible experience. What happens then if you say, I didn't learn anything? You got to take that class over again. Earth is nothing but a school that you signed on here to experience. And I proved this by taking hundreds of people. I never know where they're going to go. I think they're going to go in a past life. They don't. They go on these other planets, other dimensions, and they learn whatever it is to be learned there. But when you come to Earth, they said this is the most difficult planet in the universe. It's the hardest. It's the densest. It's the heaviest. But if you realize you're just repeating the same class over and over again and not moving forward, then it finally begins to get into your head, okay, I don't need to keep repeating this. I'm going to move on. But you have all these advisors over there, and they're always trying to help you. They can't tell you what to do, but they can help you. They said, are you sure you want to do this? And they said, oh yeah, I want to get rid of everything at once. I want to get rid of all the karma. And you pile your plate pretty full. Are you sure you want to do that? Yeah, I want to get it over with all at once. Say, okay, we'll be there to help you, but it's going to be very difficult. But it's the wheel of karma. One of the only things that Jesus came to teach us was how to get off the wheel of karma. Of course, the only way is always with love. Love is the greatest thing there is. God, the source, is total love. And that's all they're ever trying to teach anyone.
And for us to push ourselves in our own life journeys through those difficulties, we can't have hovering parents solving our problems for us, which would equate to higher beings and higher frequency teachers. And before I get too far off topic, because this is a sprawling, wonderful avenue of exploration, one way you can use energetic healing is by putting your body into a brainwave state where your conscious mind, it's trying to make sense of the world, is out of the way. so that your higher self that exists on higher planes of existence, that's more deeply tied to the collective consciousness, to Source Creator, can come in and influence your physical reality in a loving and regenerative way. It's an understanding that when you use energy healing versus biochemical healing, you're using light energy, you're using source energy, you're using photon energy. And again, when I speak of photons, a lot of people think of, okay, sun, what you can see, the visual spectrum. We know the spectrum goes way beyond visual sight. It's radio waves, FM, TV, shortwave radio. And these things pass through physical matter because they're existing on a different frequency state. When you flip the channels in an FM radio, the information being transmitted is on a light frequency. It's crazy. We live on a frequency-based reality. We know from a scientific understanding that when you combine all the frequencies of light, all the colors of light into one beam, you get a white beam. Calling on a white light energy is simply calling on the energy with all the information. And what is the energy with all the information? It is Source Creator energy that is beyond the visual spectrum of light. You can't see it. And when you're calling on that, when tuned, what you're doing is you're saying, I need this creator energy, this photonic energy to come into my body. Like a radio wave will come into the station on your car radio and play information, play a song, play the frequency of a tissue of your finger, play a regenerating informational matrix. And so that's why in religious circles and Christian or really anything, you'll hear of instant healings. Because like it or not, they can tap into an energetic field. A white light is an expression of energy that doesn't care what you call it, that is connecting all of us like the force, and they can benefit from that because they have a right to it, because we're all fractals of Source Creator. They can call upon that God energy, focus it down into a photonic form, and if that is focused in such a way that it can resonate with tissue in our body, with the informational matrix of our makeup, then it could potentially rewrite the tissue formation, like the broken finger, the memory of it, in a more perfect sense, and that would manifest as healing. One way I take advantage of this is I'd put myself in a deep trance and I connect with Source through my higher self, through my guides on higher levels, and I ask if the information that my body needs to realign to a more perfect state, the matrix of healing, say if I broke my finger, I need the information to reappear of a more perfect functioning hand. I request the grace of the subconscious to facilitate that healing. And two things will happen. Either I'll be in a receptive, loving state where that healing can take place, and that healing can happen instantly, truly instantly. If my body is in a denser field and my mind doesn't believe it can happen, or my interpretation of reality requires that it take a little bit longer, it may take a little bit longer. It may take a couple days, depending on, for example, if it was a broken bone, I still have trouble believing that that can happen instantly. But I know in my heart that it's real and it can. And so that might take a little bit more time. But it's going to be far more effective as an energetic healing versus a biochemical one, which might require a cast of taking calcium and D3, K2 vitamins to help facilitate the healing of the bone. I would much rather take advantage of my right as an energetic being to call upon the Source Creator to request the energy needed to just replace the photonic memory. So one, the healing can occur and reassimilate into the tissue. For that to happen, you need to fully accept that it can, because your brain can re-imprint the memory of the damage. You are that powerful. Or you can forgive the damage, forgive what caused it. It's another part of it. If you hold on to resentment for whatever caused damage, you're not going to heal nearly as quickly or at all. If you hold on to the pain, which a lot of people do, one reason or another, you align with it, you obsess over it, you think about it. That's what you're recreating. But I need to get to the second possibility. And the second possibility is that the physical illness, what we interpret as illness, as a deviation from health, is a learning tool, because the body is multidimensional. It serves multiple functions. One of those functions being a communication tool of your higher self, of the you that exists on a more energetic plane, the higher self that has the collection, the memory of every experience you've ever had, that feeds your intuition, that is the highest expression of you, of every life you've ever lived. Often, its way of communicating back down to you, because it cannot influence you directly, it cannot steer the course of any decision. It can only guide and offer insight and intuition. But another way it communicates with you is through illness, is through a deviation of health. And that has a lot to do with energy centers of the body. This is known as your chakras. Another way to think of chakras are informational areas of the body that have to do with your development as a human being. So me personally, I was having an issue with a cavity and some pain associated with the cavity. And I'm very conscious of my health. I very rarely need to go to the doctor. I don't usually have these kind of issues, but I know that the exact stuff that I'm talking about now in this video that I'd like to talk about more, I don't talk about. I know a lot of incredible information that I don't share because I don't need the hate. I don't want to cause controversy. We live in a world where that could get you death threats. I don't want that. I don't need that. And so that fear, that resistance, it was causing me to form a block of my energy center. I was stopping my own voice, my own truth from being spoken. Your truth would be totally different. It could be your experience with someone or your knowing of how to help others with a situation, something that you've gone through personally. Your expression of your voice will be completely different from mine. But I was putting an energetic block on myself, on my throat and on my mouth and on my voice because I refused to talk about these kinds of things. And that was causing me physical issues, materializing as pain, as atrophy, illness. And that's a soul contract I have. That's another aspect that we can talk about is soul contracts. I have a soul contract to understand the nature of the universe, to be a teacher, because we live in a dark world. There's people that want to keep you stuck and operating at a certain level that is very low and very dense, and the universe is blossoming. It is beautiful. It is wonderful, and new information is coming. We're all going to readjust as a human society and raise our vibration together and unlock new potential of what reality is and how we interact with it. One of those being healing. So, as I'm talking to you now, I'm serving myself at the same time. Service to others is service to self, service to growth as a person, growth as a human, a release of the fear of what could happen by posting this. And by doing so, I'm facilitating healing. I'm re-energizing. I'm allowing the energy to flow normally and naturally. And once I made that decision through biochemical processes that my mind connected and pushed me towards, and through the energetic healing, both, the debilitating pain I had for about a week in my jaw is gone, completely gone. Is my cavity instantly healed? No, because I can't just promise that I'm going to do it. I can't just say, hey, higher self, universe, source energy, I'm going to do it. No, it doesn't work that way. You can't barter. It knows completely. You just do. You just do, you jump, you trust, and you allow for this interaction to play out. And so I'm jumping, I'm trusting, and as I do, the pain has subsided. That was a sign. I was having pain when I was chewing. Don't have that pain anymore. And so as I serve myself by serving my journey, by serving my growth as a human, and as I'm serving others and you, I'm re-energizing myself. I'm allowing myself to be a conduit of that white light energy that's flowing into me and out my energy centers, my voice, my throat chakra, out to you, being of service to humanity, interacting, being loving and honoring you by not holding anything back, by saying exactly what I should be saying, whether or not I trust or believe that everyone will be able to receive it, and not everyone will, because I have to honor people and know that everyone's on a different path, on a different journey, and there will be pushback, and that's okay. That's something I just have to be comfortable with. I love the trolls. I have to lovingly let them live their path, and they will accept the reality they will accept. And I have to weather the storm. But the point of all that is to say that if you choose the path of energetic healing and the healing doesn't happen, there's a reason for it, and you are often the reason. Again, it's not punishment. It's not evil. It's not sin. It is a function of learning, a function of communication between you, your body, your higher self, because of the limitations put on this reality, on this earth school, put there for very good reason. You know, if you were born knowing everything you needed to do, when you needed to do it, who you're going to meet, you wouldn't do it. There'd be no motivation to. You'd be like, okay, cool. Next, you have to experience, you have to go through the fire. You have to feel the weight of earning your wisdom, of earning your understanding of the world. And the point of this is not to get angry. If things were easy, they wouldn't be valuable. By going through the fire, you see the value in making the right decisions, in being brave and overcoming fears to earn the success. That's true for health, that's true for wealth, that's true for well-being, anything. We're all learning our different lessons. And if you're dealing with something very serious, we do live in a multidimensional reality. There are evil people that can and are allowed to influence negatively you in your physical form. So if I say that something might be a lesson for you, there may be more to it than that. For me, my soul contracts dictated that I needed to amplify my throat chakra, my energy, my teaching capacity, and help people that were ready to listen, because there's more people ready to listen now than ever before. If I did this 10 years ago, it'd be very different. We're all online now, and we can all benefit in a really beautiful, wonderful way. I covered a lot on this one, so I'm going to wrap this video up. This one's already going to be pretty long. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoy this conversation, ask questions. You know, I can only help you if you communicate to me what you need and how I can be of service to you and how I can help you in your life. I can't help everyone. I wish I could. I wish I could just split myself off into many people and just help everyone. And I'm also still trying to integrate and figure out how to support myself in new ways, because I've been deplatformed, especially on TikTok. I lost 300,000 followers and a lot of my income so that I could do this kind of thing. And I'm trusting in this new path and what I can do to be more of service and create that transaction of give and take, where I can give as much as I can and still get enough in return that I can put a roof over my head and support my family and be everything that I need to be. So, I think that goes to show we're all on our own journeys. I'm not saying this from a point of authority. I'm not your guru. I am being of service the same way a humble plumber would fix your plumbing, because they know how to fix your plumbing. I know about energy, so it is my honor and my duty to share more of this information with you in the best way that I can, in the clearest style of communication. Yeah, this has been good. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. There will be more of these. I hope that you followed along and I didn't make it too confusing or put too much into this. And if you would like to help support what I'm trying to do, you can visit brittonsimonsnow.com. I do have some partners that I'm working with that have great products that heal on a biochemical level, because it's still just as valid. And hopefully we can get to a place where we can start to heal you energetically. All right, I'll see you next time. Thank you guys for watching. It's about time we all feel better. Don't forget to like, share, put this out there. And just as I'm being fearless, finally talking about this information, I ask you to be fearless and share this with people that you don't think would be very receptive. They might not be. That's okay. I'll look like the crazy one here. Stay healthy. Take care.